Good morning, everyone. My name is Taryn, and thank you for stopping by my channel, Nicole Flower House. I am located in Zone 7B, and I grow cut flowers in my garden. This is just a quick winter update. I am finally showing footage of our first frost and also some quick things that I'm up to help prepare me for the spring. Here I am getting my ranunculus starts into the garden bed. I showed you them on the last video that I had started them in these seed trays, so now I'm finally getting them planted out into the garden beds. I do protect them under these hoops with the frost cloth. This is the thinnest frost cloth available. Our winters don't get too cold, but since it is so thin, I use 2 layers, and that keeps the ranunculus pretty happy all winter long. Another important thing it does is that it keeps the ice off of it. We don't get a whole lot of snow, but we can get a lot of ice, and I think that's really harmful to the plants, so keeping the ice off of it is also another function of that frost cloth and the hoops. As you can see here, my zinnias and celosia have finally succumbed to the cold weather. Now these celosia I stopped cutting from, and I just kind of let them go for pollinators, and they are filled with seeds. There has to be millions of seeds in here. I don't know how many, but it's got to be a lot. So this bed will probably have a lot of volunteers in it next year, which will be a nice surprise because I really like letting volunteer plants grow. It's like free plants and I didn't have to do any work. And they seem to be a lot healthier and sturdier because nature is doing all the work and she knows best. This right here is Jewels of Opar. And during the summer, the foliage completely covered up all of this other stuff right here, which is actually yarrow. Yarrow is perennial, so I'm happy that I finally have rediscovered these plants and that they're doing so well. So once I get everything cleaned up, maybe I'll get blooms off of these in the spring. These Rudbeckia don't look good, but I don't think I'm going to tear them out. I really think I'm just going to clean them up and see if I can get some frost cloth over them, overwinter them, and see how they do. This bed I planted anemones. There's a few anemones that survived from last year that I missed when cleaning out this bed the previous season, but they are being munched on by animals, and I think all of my corms, my new corms that I planted, have been dug up and stolen by squirrels or something, so I think I'm going to have to redo my anemones. I do have some left over, so I will just start those in plug trays, just like I did with the ranunculus. Plant those out as baby plants and then keep them covered with the frost cloth. That's another function of the frost cloth that I forgot to mention earlier. I do use it to keep deer and other animals from nibbling on my plants. A little update about my roses. As I walk through the garden, I'm just noticing how beautiful they are, but I think they just don't really fit in well into these garden beds. These plants are really large. They just need a better space where they can sprawl and get nice and big and wonderful. So I'm thinking I want to start a brand new rose garden somewhere else on the property. I will have to move all these plants. It is kind of a bummer, but they're not super established and super old. Some of these are only about 2 years old, other ones are 3 to 4 years old. I know it's not great to keep moving them around, but I will do that so they have a better place to grow. You can see that they're not really dormant, and my roses don't really go dormant completely. I do like to prune them back in January. So the project of moving all these will probably be done in that time frame. I will prune them back so they're easier to manage, dig them up, and move them into a new space. Here is my sub pod, which is my worm composting system. I've completely filled up this bed with leaves to insulate the worms and keep them a little bit warmer over the winter. I've also removed the shade cloth so it can get the full warmth of the sun during the day. Here is the dahlia patch. Again, it's been frosted by the cold weather. Everything needs cleaned up, and I am going to plant things a little bit differently this season coming up. That dahlia patch was a huge improvement over the previous year, but I have new ideas to help it even further. This is my winterberry plant, and unfortunately the birds got to all my beautiful red berries before I did. I thought I had a little bit longer before I needed to harvest them because I read online that the birds don't really take them until they've been frozen and thawed a few times, but I missed the boat on that. So next year, as soon as I have the opportunity to take those berries, I'll have to do it a lot sooner. A few other plants that I've been talking about moving around are these ones right here, the chrysanthemums. They are very tall and very large, so I'll need to do some kind of different corralling system, maybe more like the dahlias with the T-posts to keep those upright. There are some other herbs in this bed that are kind of crazy that I'm going to cut way back or move. I don't know if they'll survive or not, but it's not really working out in this space. This eucalyptus here, I'm undecided if I want to move, but there's also some rosemary and oregano and thyme, and it's all kind of mixed together and going wild and crazy, which I love the look of, but it just makes it so I can't use it. Now this Gomphrena has finally taken a turn with the cold weather as well, and it was one that I was having a good time watching. It survived and took a lot of the frosts and very light freezes. So this is something that I may be able to use later into the fall season than I originally thought. It's kind of fun to just let things go in your garden for as long as you can, just to see what kind of weather it can hold up to. This basil right here will definitely get cleaned out, but beneath it are some poppies. These are poppies that self-seeded themselves, and they really like cold weather, and they're coming up on their own. So I just need to go in here and pull out the weeds and let these poppies go. Last spring was the first time I'd had poppies before, so I wasn't expecting them to come back this early, but we'll see what happens. Another thing I want to do is move this garden bed. It's rectangular shaped, and I just want to flip it so it's going the other way, the other direction, because it's really blocking the pathway here. This side of the pathway is nice and open and I can get my wheelbarrow and cart through there, but the other side is blocked by this garden bed. So I plan on moving all of this junk that's sitting here in the middle and flipping this garden bed around so it's going the other direction. And then I should have a nice clear path in there. And that does it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. And the best way you can support me and my channel is to subscribe and share it with your flower loving friends. I'll see you next time. Bye.